All right, here we go.
Help them spell.
We are live on Facebook. My name is Clint Dupin.
My name is Michaell Dupin.
And we're here with Steve Norman. Steve, we're so excited to have you on our show called In Clint's Office. That's not it.
We try show ever.
No show.
Hey, so we're going to talk a little bit about reflecting on this past youth sports spring season and what we've learned and what we don't want to ever do again. But let's talk a little bit about that. What do you think?
Well, I would say, Steve, I don't know about your family. Are you guys mainly soccer when it comes to this?
We've been all over the map. We had a 16-year-old in varsity tennis. We had a freshman JV soccer. We had a 6th grader in rec lacrosse, and we had a 4th grader in rec lacrosse. Ooh. So we were all over the map. It was pandemonium these last 10 weeks.
That's crazy. Yeah. And we, for a while, had 3 kids in competitive soccer. Now we're down to 2 in competitive soccer. Our 3rd is doing more in the arts and leadership at school. But 4 in sports is crazy.
Yeah. And I don't know what it's been like for you guys, but I think one of the things that Kelly and I have learned that so much of it is just survival. We're just trying to, there's just so much going on to be able to say, like, did we get the right person to the right practice? Who's taking who? And just because the game starts at this time, we forgot that we have to have them there half an hour before. Is it a home game? Is it a away game? Is the water bottle clean? Is the jersey clean? Do we have everybody's gear? It feels like it's just nonstop. And I know for us, one of the questions that we've been trying to ask is how do we like kind of do the drone view from above and say, all right, Lord, what are you trying to teach us as parents and as a family and Christ followers through the youth sports experience? And I know that's a kind of a broad, high level question that not a lot of people pause to ask, not because it's not an important question, but just because we've never thought to ask it. So for you guys, as you look back at this last spring sports season, which was a weird one because almost everybody missed the 2020 spring sports season because of COVID. Yeah. What was your experience like, and what lessons did you feel like God was teaching you along the way?
Yeah, Steve, before we get into that, like, I just think that people that are listening now or even listening to this in the future is just like, there's certain things like, what is the win? What isn't the win? When it comes to spring sports, I think one of the wins, and I heard a story once of a father who actually left his child, in a porta potty. So I think sometimes a win is like, there can be minimal wins. There can be.
He's throwing you under the bus from the
very beginning. Let's start out with something very light, a little bit, to make parents feel like they've won.
So when you share your story, I agree. Most parents are going to be like, "Wow, I'm doing a lot better than I thought I was."
I my children in a porta potty. So can we start? There, Steve? Did that ever happen?
Yeah. So I think this was 3 years ago. Josiah was just getting started in lacrosse. He was 9. And Naomi, who at the time would have been 11, was playing club soccer. We live in a town called Zeeland, which is about a half an hour away from Grand Rapids. So I had gotten to the point where I dropped Josiah off at lacrosse in Zeeland, dropped Naomi off at practice in Grand Rapids, came back to get Joe. While I was picking up Joe, our oldest, Grace, went into the porta-john and didn't tell me. I just automatically assumed that she was in the car. And so we took off, and I'm like 5 or 10 minutes away from the field. I look in the rearview mirror. She's gone. She doesn't have her. I'm calling her phone. It's ringing in the back seat because she didn't bring it. Like, it's smart not to bring your phone into a porta-john. And so I circle back, and poor kid is just completely traumatized. We were so new to the area that other parents didn't have our number. So I was like, yeah, that was a dad fail all around. And so I think that turned into like a McDonald's night because there was just so much shame that I had as a dad. Like, I just had the penance.
Doesn't make all things better.
Was fast food, right? Which is, again, that's healthy on a whole other level, right? Like, I will appease my children by giving them trans fats and sugar. So I need help at every level.
So we're leading this. We're helping parents.
Right.
Yeah, we're giving parents advice.
We're just trying to make
this is the blind leading the blind times 1,000. So about 2 years ago, I started a podcast called Bad Soccer Dad that ran for about 30 episodes. Just if nothing else, as a reflection opportunity for me to be able to say, I know I'm missing it as a dad. I know I'm missing it as a Christ follower. I've never been a good athlete. Clint, you could attest to this on multiple levels. So like, I felt like I was choking everywhere. Like I couldn't help my kids get better at their sport. I didn't feel like I was helping them grow closer to Christ. I felt like there were times where I was being a bad fan and was yelling at officials and yelling at other kids and they're yelling at everybody. And I just was like, this is not the person that I want to be. How do I hit pause and recalibrate so that like when this whole thing is said and done, win or lose, we feel better about how we grew as a family and how we honored Christ and how we listened to the prompting of the Holy Spirit, practices, games, tournaments, everywhere in between. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's so good. Great. What is your Enneagram? Do you know that?
I'm not even good at that either, Clint. So I'm either I'm a 9 or a 1. So I'll have to have today one of the amazing coaches or therapists here at Winning at Home help me drill down into that so that I could grow another layer of self-awareness.
I would say he's an 8.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that question about what we've, this reflecting back on, this spring season has been a little different with COVID and.
Yeah. And I think for me, I think there's ways that we've been intentional, but this is a good reminder because I think for a lot of people too, it's like, we didn't just ease back into things. We went a lot of nothing to a lot of everything. So even just like, I found it difficult to just even get back in the rhythm of like, oh my gosh, we have practices and games. But on the flip side, I would say hallelujah, because my kids stayed remote all year. So for them to have a way to get their energy out and to interact with other kids was amazing for us. But also like, I would say even in this last couple of weeks, I think sometimes maybe we think about like, this is just what my kids are doing. This is what all kids do. And of course we have them in sports if they're athletic. But there are so many teachable moments that we've been able to walk through with them.
Yeah, that's so good. Is that, I don't think I don't feel like I have anything. I just felt like not having sports, for the COVID season was a huge loss. Like it really was. Like I really, we were going so crazy before COVID, with 3 kids in sports. To nothing like you're talking about, missing it. Like I didn't miss the back and forth and paying $4.30 for a gallon of gas. But I did miss the sidelines. I did miss the parents. I did miss some of those things, but yeah, now we're right back into it.
Right. And I think it's fascinating that you say that, Clint, because we miss the competition as well. And I know there are a lot of people, especially with kids who are older children, they've got older children who are college bound, they're elite athletes, feel like they missed a year of development, that kids were trying to do a lot of work at home on their own or doing YouTube training, but didn't have that hands-on experience with coaches. So I know a lot of people, especially seniors who missed their final season, there was a lot of grieving and mourning in that. And I don't want to discount the heartbreak that was involved in that. On the flip side, I know for our family to be able to sit down around a table and eat dinner like every night for 100 straight nights and not have to go to practices was something that would not have happened unless God had thrown a monkey wrench into the sports season. We never would have chosen that on our own.
Yeah.
And for as much as there was heartbreak for kids, I wonder how in some ways it was a gift just to have a pause for God to be able to say, I'm going to allow you to take, I'm going to use a Bible word here. I'm going to allow you to take a Sabbath from all of this madness. I'm going to protect you from the chaos and literally protect some kids from injuries that they would have otherwise experienced and just allow everybody to catch a breath. And I think that in some ways, COVID has allowed us to appreciate and reevaluate what we really want to get out of our kids' sports experience more than we otherwise would have done.
No, I totally agree. It was a massive reset button. I think our kids have grown tremendously over this past year because of sitting around that dinner table. I think, just watching our 16-year-old, almost 17-year-old miss out on her entire, her half of her sophomore year, her entire junior year. Part of my, at the beginning, I was like, man, like I hate that for her. But there were so many great conversations that we were able to have that we would have never had, if she would have been in school. And there were some things that she was going through emotionally, spiritually, that we probably would have never seen if she were gone, so many hours of the day. But we were able to, take advantage of those moments, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, because I think about
Yeah,
even on top of the pandemic, everything that was going on in our world. And like you're
right.
saying, the conversations that we were able to have with them and the like just to hear the questions that they have and that they really want to know how to process this, how to walk through this. Is just that we did have the space to do that.
Michael, I think that's so good. One of the lessons I've been learning lately is what kind of questions to ask to fully engage my kids, whether it's in spiritual conversations, social conversations, their own development, or sports conversations. And the two greatest gifts to me have been learning how to ask what questions and how questions. Like if I ask a did you question, like did you have fun? Yes or no. Like kids can kind of
Yeah.
wriggle out of that one really quick, easily. But like, how did the game go for you? Or
Mhm.
what kind of experience did you have with your coaches? To ask how and what questions really tee up a little bit more engagement, especially as our kids get older, as opposed to asking, well, why did you do that? Which immediately puts a child on the defensive. Or did you enjoy this? Yes or no, which can shut down conversations pretty quickly.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great.
I know for me, one of the things, again, and I think that COVID was a great reset to help us say like, hey, if when there are life and death health issues on the horizon, it really forces you to kind of reevaluate what matters and what doesn't matter. And I think that for me, one of the great questions that I had to ask this season, and Clint, for as unathletic as I am, you know that I'm still pretty competitive. And I know for me, one of the questions I had to keep telling myself is like, what really matters? And so there were times this sports season where I would like have to like walk to the very end of the field where there weren't other parents and just like say out loud to myself, it doesn't matter. Like it literally doesn't matter. Like they okay. So if they win, even if the highest level, like if somebody wins the Super Bowl, like, yeah, great. That's exciting. And they get a free trip to Disney World. But in 4 years, if you weren't a part of that team or that team wasn't part of your town, nobody remembers.
Mhm.
And like when we zoom out and look at the scope of eternity to be able to say, do we want our kids to do their best? Do we want them to have fun? Do we want them to experience, would we rather them experience the thrill of victory rather than the agony of defeat? Yes, yes, yes.
Mhm.
But does it really matter? And the answer is no. And what was alarming to me over my kids' sports experience over the years is that if I care more about the outcome of that season than they do, or I care more about the outcome of a particular game than they do, something's out of whack. Like if I need it more than they do, or I want it more than they do, that says more about me than it does about the game or the official or the club or the coach than it does about me. And so one of the questions I've had to drill down internally say is like, why does it matter to me?
Mhm.
Like, why do I care so much? And I think it can be a really important question. And not to get overly dramatic, but I think some of us, it harkens back to our own family of origin, where identity and worth was tied to performance. And for us to be able to say like, well, if my kid's a loser or if my kid's on a losing team, then what does that say about me? Like, is our family name tainted? I had a friend once who said that his buddy that he knew used to yell at his kid to do better because he's like, that's my name on the back of your jersey. So to be able to say like, our family reputation is on the line when you screw up, and a guy to be able to say like, it's not your name,
Yeah.
it's theirs. And if you have issues with your own worth and your own security and your own identity to iron out, please take that far, far away from your 9-year-old's rec soccer league game, because this is not about that. And so for me, one of the greatest challenges that I've had as a parent of kids in youth sports is to be able to say, this is often the arena where some of my internal character work or spiritual work or identity work. Youth sports is the arena where those issues might bubble to the surface, but it is not the arena for me to work out those issues.
Yeah.
I have to do that on my own. I have to do that with a counselor or a coach or a spiritual director or somebody who's super wise like Clint and Michaell, to be able to just be like another reference point to say, there's some stuff God is using this experience to bubble some stuff to the surface.
Mm.
And if I don't do my own work, I run the risk of taking that out on my kids and putting a burden on them that like God doesn't want them to carry. You want like sports as experience for them to have fun, for them to learn discipline, for them to make some lifelong friendships, and hopefully for them to love the game. And
Yeah.
if we're not careful as parents, we could bring our own baggage to the sidelines and to that experience that would squeeze the joy out of it that like God intended to be a part of that. And again, I hope I'm not coming across as too heavy a hand. I'm just trying to be honest about my
No,
own.
I
My own
think that's really good, and you're kind of convicted me as you're talking right now. Like if you don't think that there's any if a person thinks that everything is okay below the surface, or a parent thinks it's everything is, just go to youth sports, right? Just go watch your kid. If your child is on a losing team, it'll quickly be revealed if there's some undealt with things underneath the surface, right?
Right.
I remember this just happened a couple of weeks ago. Is one of our kids got in the car. Henry got in the car after a game, and some drama was happening on the team, with some team members and teammates. And Henry works really, really hard every game. It doesn't matter if they're winning, if they're losing, he's going to go 110%.
Yeah.
110 is more than 100.
Thank you, Clint.
Thank you, Clint. Appreciate that.
And so he would go hard, and he came in, to the car and just was kind of decompressing and, talking about some things. And you could see he carries his emotions on his sleeve. Like he had tears a little bit in his eyes, and he's just talking about the game, and they had lost the game. It was a close game, played really well, better team. But there was a couple things that happened on the team with another team member, and he was just kind of just blurting it out because he had nowhere else to talk about it. Right. He had nowhere else. Well, I'm an 8. And if you don't know what an 8 is, 8's ready to fight. 8 is, if you're not careful, you're a reactor, right? It's like, let's go, let's rumble. And so I felt like it was the perfect time to diagnose the situation and to give my opinion and to tell him what I thought. And there was nothing, it became a one-way conversation.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing coming back from him. And I thought, there was a part of me where I thought, like, this is getting in. He's understanding. He's really getting it. And it's awesome. So we're going to meet some people for lunch, and everybody gets out of the car. And I knew something was wrong because Michael came back to the car because I was going to park it, and I was by myself. I'm like, I'm in trouble. I don't know what for, because I just dropped some wisdom. Mm-hmm. And so she comes back and she's just like, what Henry was doing? He was just telling you what was happening. He really believes in his team, and he even believes in the kid that he was talking about. And you really discouraged him. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was just giving him and it was in that moment, there was that kairos moment of, so I went and parked the car by myself. Then I went and got Henry. Whereas, like, man, like this was about me. This wasn't about him at all.
Right.
Because everything that we teach, he's the captain on his team, and everything we teach him is about, it's like, hey, be above that stuff, be above all those things.
Bring your team up. Yeah,
bring your team up. Right. And I was totally having a lower room conversation with him.
Right.
And not this, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter about those things. Let's focus on this and let's focus on that. But I just think it comes out in different ways as, as parents, is like how we handle it. And you might not be the emotional parent on the sideline, but you're the emotional parent in the car ride home.
Right.
And it's just so much of what you're saying, I think, is so good, because it really doesn't matter. The things that we think that matters, our children might not even be thinking about whatsoever. They just love being a part of the team. Mm-hmm. They just love having fun. And I bet you 9 times out of 10, this is what we have found out when we start pressing into our kids. Like, why do you like to play? It's so far off from what I care about.
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah, but you need to know. It's like this. And it's like, no.
Well, I think too, as parents, like sometimes we think like youth sports is great for them. There are these teachable moments. They learn how to work with a team. They learn cooperation. They learn how to lose. They learn how to win. But it's like, there's more teachable moments for us as parents than we realize. Like things that everything I'm just listening to you guys talk about. I'm just like, wow, we don't look at it as like, even with my kids involved in this, like I'm learning who I am and the things that I need to work on and the things that need to be developed or matured in me.
Right. And Michael, I think that one of the questions that I've been learning to ask, and again, it's taken a long, long road to get here. One of the questions I've been learning to ask is, who do I want my kids to be, period? Mm-hmm. And then the subset of that is, how can the youth sports experience help them become that person? Because again, like short-sighted, it's like, I want them to win. Well, unfortunately, the news is full of stories of people who are champions in sports and business and in politics. But then when we pop the hood, there's a character deficit or a spiritual emptiness or a gap when it comes to integrity in those people. So we're a society that loves to celebrate winners, but as soon as we find out that they're kind of sketchy people, we love to cancel them. And so for part of us to be able to say, who do I want them to be? And if sports teaches character, how do we make sure that it forms their character specifically and not generically? When we talk about character traits, what do we want our family to learn from in the season? Do we want to learn patience? Do we want to learn humility? Do we want to learn forgiveness? Do we want to learn how to lament? Because sports is an opportunity for us to grieve losses. We grieve things that aren't fair. We grieve the fact that we didn't get playing time. We grieve the fact that maybe other kids or parents were excluding individuals or whole families. There are a lot of different dynamics that teach us how to walk with Jesus when the stakes are, and again, they're not even high in the sports arena. They're actually pretty low, but in the moment we can feel like they're high. And so if I find myself wanting to yell at a stranger, I have to ask myself, where is that coming from? And what's really going on?
Yeah. And I think, I was just processing as you're talking, like it is such a place for them to learn so much. And I think for me as a mom, where I come in, I'm not like you two. And I think you both are similar in this, that you got to walk away if you're getting frustrated, or you got to stand way down the fence. I send Clint because I'm like, I don't want people to hear all your comments or all your sideline coaching. Like that doesn't stir up in me. As a mom, there's things that I think my initial response is like, oh, I want to protect him from.
Right.
Like I don't want him to experience, but the more I try to protect him from those things in any arena, but this plays out on the sports field, it's like, those are opportunities to prepare him for what's ahead. Like I'll never forget that game that it was tied, and I'm going to use all the wrong soccer terminology probably, but Henry missed his, was it penalty kick?
Yeah.
At the end, and we lost the game.
Yeah.
And I just remember the heartbreak on his face, because it just felt like it was on him, the reason that they lost. But I watched like the way his coach spoke into them, the conversations that we got to have. Nothing in me as a mom wanted him to experience that, but it was good for him, because it's like, how many things is he going to experience in life where he's not successful the first time, or something does happen where he can't be perfect, and it might feel like whatever the outcome in the future at a job or wherever he is, like it might feel like it was on him. But how does he walk through that? How does he process? How does he know that he's okay, even with mistakes, that we can't be perfect? Because I would say Henry is someone that likes to excel in everything he does. He doesn't want to not be perfect.
You watch a change too. Parent, Jack Wilson, our counselor, used to say this all the time, Steve. It's like, kids are a lightning rod to what's happening in the home or happening with parents. It's like there is that age where you start to see everything is so innocent with children's sports, kids sports, and then as it starts to open up to it goes from rec, and then it goes competitive and select, and the levels. You watch the demeanor of children change, right? It goes from like the intensity begins to change, and it's very reflective of the parent. And I'm like, how do we keep? I love competition. I'm very competitive. There are things I have to walk away from, and I'm 45, and I still think I can hang with 20-year-olds, and I can't. But I think there's that thing as parents where it's like, I watch this even with parents I know, and I've seen it even in my own children, is like they start losing the joy of the sport,
right?
Based on our presence, like even our presence as on the sidelines, our presence in the car to and from. I know you have heard things. I have heard things from parents on the sidelines said to kids. I've coached flag football. I've coached soccer. I've coached basketball. It's like, it's crazy. The kids that are having the most fun on the court or the field, you can usually look over to a parent who knows what their role is.
Right.
And their role is the encourager, right? Yeah. What did Jack Wilson say? You have two responsibilities: take your kid to the game and encourage, let the coach do the rest.
Right. Right. Especially when you get to club and elite levels, you're a lot of people are paying top dollar for coaches. And sometimes my kids would get to the point where they're like, stop telling me what to do. My coach is telling me to do something completely different. So Miriam is learning lacrosse. I never played lacrosse. The rules for girls lacrosse are different than boys lacrosse. And so like, Mary, you gotta come in harder. You gotta make contact. She's like, that's against the rules. Stop talking. So there's one of my good friends said like the car ride home should only have one sentence from a parent. And that's this: I loved to watch you play.
Yeah, it's good.
That's so
good. He's like, full stop. Because if it's like you had a good game, it could be that your kids get more competitive and they know that they made big mistakes. And they're like, no, I didn't have a good game, and here's why. Or you could say like, oh, you made a terrible error in this point, and that costs the game for everybody. But maybe their coach said otherwise. So the only thing that is true is I derived joy in watching you do what you love to do. And Clint, I think one of the things that I learned the hard way is I choked on that sentence the first couple of times because I'm like, we don't celebrate mediocrity, we celebrate excellence. But that I was bringing my own baggage to the table. And I had a hard time considering when I was thinking about my relationship with God, a lot of times I had a hard time imagining hearing God say about me, Steve, today I love to watch you play. Because so much of my life had been steeped in shame and fear that I'm like, oh, God's 9 times out of 10, God's probably really annoyed, really frustrated, and really disappointed.
Yeah.
And so to start with the baseline of delight that just said like, the fact that you showed up, you like laced up cleats and you tried today. And that was fun for me to watch. Again, part of our addiction to performance and achievement is just like, there are no trophies for participation. God's like, maybe there's not, but there should be joy in watching our kids do things that can and do bring them delight. And I think that there are a lot of times where people are like, oh, it just drove me crazy. My kid was picking dandelions and chasing butterflies rather than playing soccer. And what I want to say now is like, you should one day you will yearn for those moments where innocence and delight were the order of the day.
I agree.
Because a lot of times people are like, well, we should only reward accomplishment and achievement. And when kids lose, that's a good lesson. And my whole mindset is like, hey, by the time you get to our age, like 45, 46, you don't need additional lessons to remind you that life is hard and that you make mistakes, because life is replete with those. So part of me is like, let's shore up kids' confidence in who they are and in our delight in them and God's delight in them, because at the end of the day, it's that and not all of our yelling and screaming and demanding that will allow them to lean fully into life and who God calls and loves them to be.
It's so good. I remember the linebacker, I think his name was James Harrison for Pittsburgh Steelers. His sons, both his boys brought home trophies, and they were injured, but they were on a winning team. He made them take the trophies back because they did not earn the trophies. But no, I think what you're saying is good. It's like, what are the things that we're going to remember? What are the things that, chase the joy, right? It's like our kids are having so much fun out there. And they know, you can see when they get back in the car, they know where they fell short, or they knew, if you have a coach that's somewhat decent, that coach is going to be the one, that is able to speak into them right there. And I think it's so important for us as parents, so we can maintain our role as parents, right? It's like we can maintain just that authority or that strong voice. Man, when I blur the lines, I start losing credibility with my children. I can see it. Right. Because they know, they're old enough now. I was like, Dad, like they would never say this. They will. Dad, the game has changed. Like I was talking about some position and they had never, ever heard of that position. I'm like, well, that's a position. Later I found out, I was like, no, they don't actually play that formation anymore in soccer. I was like, okay, touche.
Well, I think what's important too as parents, so Henry and Charlie right now are both in competitive and they're wired so differently. They both love to play, but Henry almost likes the sideline coaching a little bit from Clint, and he responds to that, and he's super competitive and he doesn't mind, this is what you can work on. Yeah. But I mean, like some of that he kind of thrives on. Well, we're watching Charlie play. And so Clint and Henry are on the sideline. And now Henry's little Clint over here, and they're both coaching Charlie in that way. And I'm just watching his shoulders drop, and I'm just watching his, just demeanor. And I'm like, he doesn't respond the same way. And they both are like, and they turned into, like you're saying, like, just encouraging from the sideline or whatever. But it was a great picture of how differently they're made. And for Charlie, Henry will be there at every practice and he will not miss. Charlie, I watch if there's too many, if there's like additional offers to like, hey, come train with this team. I think sometimes as parents, we're like, they got to be there at every moment so they can get to the top, and another coach will see them or whatever. And we're trying with Charlie, like, do you want to?
Right.
And if you don't, or even if it's a regular practice and you're not up for it today, emotionally, whatever, like you're in a spot, that's okay. Like life is not going to end if you miss it. You don't have to be there. We don't have to push him on this conveyor belt of every offer you get.
Yep.
And I just like, for me to watch them both right now side by side in this, and to see their differences and to be able to celebrate that and figure out how to parent them differently is like, I think, an opportunity of youth sports, but it's a great teaching moment for us as parents.
Michael, I think that's a profound insight. And I think that when we talk about kids' mental health, sometimes like as employees in any decent organization, you get X number of personal days, right? But a lot of times as parents, we don't give our kids any personal days for sports.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you don't practice, you don't play. Well, it could be that in the long view, maybe them getting less minutes on this one particular Saturday game is not a big sacrifice to pay for their well-being and their mental health in this next moment. So
yeah, I agree.
That's all stuff that's worth considering and thinking through.
That's good.
Well, thanks so much for your time, guys. I appreciate you doing this, and maybe we can do it again in late August when we talk about, instead of looking back at spring, looking forward to fall, and just say like, all right, what prayers, what goals, what frameworks are we going to set up for individual kids, and then also for our family to be able to say, when the fall season is over, when we get to Thanksgiving, what do we want to have been true about our experience? What steps, what habits, what practices, what prayers, what rhythms are we going to get in? Are we going to put in place to make sure that we get there?
I love that. That's awesome.
So good.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks so much. It's great to see you guys.
All right. See ya.